What's your reality, guys? You're hanging out with a girl, and every time it's time for you guys to hang out, some dumb shit happens. You're not meant to hang out with a woman. I'm a human. I make mistakes as well. But I've worked on keeping that energy as much as I can in my brain. Rather than having it come down to lower centers, I keep it in my brain. As I've done that, I've been able to use more of my brain, and I've noticed that pattern recognition has become one of my favorite benefits of semen retention. So I'm able to pick up on patterns, and whether I'm really conscious about what's going on around me or unconsciously, I'll get a gut feel about something, and I've learned not to question that. But let's talk about conscious patterns real quick. There's no such thing as an accident, and I'm gonna break this down because it's gonna be controversial. A lot of people are gonna be like, all right, dude, I got in a car crash. It wasn't my fault. Right? They're gonna give you the human logic and the human reasoning as to why that was an accident. But as you go further in this journey, your brain becomes more seminated, your pineal gland is getting less and less calcified. As you start going through this process, you're going to start noticing patterns. And the way you notice these patterns, they're going to have a whole new meaning for you, right? Accidents or things that just seem to happen to you, they're not really going to feel like accidents anymore. Everything's going to have a deeper meaning. Accidents are just signs. And for you to be able to decipher these signs, you've got to be able to use more of your brain. And this is the importance with raising the sexual energy and not keeping it trapped in lower chakras, right? Like the majority of humans have. To use more of your brain, you've got to have the energy in the higher centers, right? So back in the day, let's say I was going to an important meeting and I lost my key. My former self would have been like, damn, man, where's my key? Okay? Then I would go to the meeting late, obviously, right? Because I couldn't find my key. I spent 20 minutes looking for it. I go to the meeting, I'm 20 minutes late. Hey, my excuse as to why I was late, it was an accident. I lost my key and something happened. I accidentally lost my key and something happened, right? That's how I would see it. Now, my current self, where I'm at right now, if I'm looking at that situation, I'm going to ask myself why it is that something that I'm pretty sure I know where I placed it, and all of a sudden I can't find it. Was I meant to not be there at the time that I had planned on being there, right? Is there something that's, kind of taking me off path for a good reason, right? Am I supposed to not run into a certain individual, or am I supposed to run into somebody? This is how I'm thinking now. This is how you're going to end up thinking on semen retention. You're no longer going to see things as black and white, because everything you're going to learn has a hidden meaning behind it. As you retain and the energy starts working its magic and you start activating more of your brain, everything is going to have a hidden meaning. I'm not going to say too much, but let's say I go on a date with a woman and we go to a restaurant, and you know what? This happened to me. And every time we go out on a date, the waitress, they fuck up somewhere, right? They drop a plate, or they spill a drink on us, or some little thing happens. Mind you, this is somewhere where I go all the time, and when I go by myself or with my sibling or with my family, it's always smooth. But there's a woman in my reality who every time I go out, and it may not even be one spot, right? That's what makes it even more interesting. It may be multiple different restaurants. Every time we go somewhere, how come something always happens to us, right? Our food takes forever. The waitresses are dropping shit. They're spilling our drinks. There's always some sort of mishap. That's a sign. Hindsight is always 20/20, and I eventually realized that this wasn't a woman that I should have been around, okay? And my former self would have ignored these things, and, I would have just kept going. When things like that happen in your reality, you want to pay attention. So nowadays, instead of calling accidents, I call them, or I see them as synchronicities, good or bad. You've got good synchronicity, bad synchronicity. Regardless, they're all signs, and they have a deeper hidden meaning, right? Pay attention to the things that go on around you, good or bad. It doesn't really matter. Yes, you want to mingle and be in reality, talk to people, all this stuff, but always have kind of a bird's eye view perspective as to everything that's going on around you. This is kind of what got me into the occult, for example, and really understanding things for what they are. Things are hidden in plain sight, and it's you, the individual, who has to do the work to be able to see what's really being communicated. If not, you're going to experience a whole different reality. If you're at work and your boss is giving you trash, you're on semen retention, you're at work and you notice that your boss is all of a sudden on your ass. Now, yes, semen retention is cool. People are going to gravitate towards you. You're going to get hired. But you'll notice that there are times where it's time for you to move on to something better, right? And as it's time for you to move on to something better, all of a sudden you're getting bullshit in your reality, right? So this is how the universe is scripting, it's scripting your exit. Now, all of a sudden your boss, who was once, the homie, he was, very cool and he showed favoritism, all that stuff. All of a sudden the boss is switching up, right? His behavior is different. Okay, the universe is scripting your exit, right? Allow it to happen. As you go further on your journey, this is how you're going to notice it, right? It's not going to be, man, my boss is being a pain in the ass, right? As the bullshit's happening in your reality, you'll be confident that's all happening for a reason because, again, your energy is good, you're retaining, you're not doing any, low vibrational things behind closed doors. You're doing your part. So if you're experiencing some BS in your reality and you're doing your part, odds are good that it's happening for your own good. It's when you're doing dark shit and, you're watching porn or, you're low frequency, you're doing low frequency activities behind closed doors. That's when you want to pay attention to the bad things going on in your reality. Well, they're a different type of warning, right? You might have to pivot. But like I just said, if you're sitting there and you're doing the right things and you're seeing things kind of break down in front of you, there's a good chance that it's breaking down because something better is coming. Like I said, there aren't any accidents in this matrix. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying here, right? Just because you're watching someone, boom, you saw her pull out her phone. As she pulls out her phone, she rear-ends the car. You're watching it. Yes, our human mind is going to be, oh, look, an accident. But that's not really an accident. Watch your reality, guys. You're hanging out with a girl. And every time it's time for you guys to hang out, some dumb shit happens. You're not meant to hang out with a woman. On semen retention, you'll eventually your brain will start picking up on these things and you'll get the gut feel, okay, maybe this is a sign. Then you'll start following that intuition, right? You'll start following that gut feel that you get. Versus your former self, back then, you would have said, fuck it. You'll get clear messages. You're not even able to see the message. So guess what you're doing? You're going to force the issue. Do it a third time. It's not working. I'm going to try it again. No, that's not the way to go about things, guys. You want to be very mindful. Just pay attention. I'm not saying be like weird. Don't freak yourself out, but pay attention. You're going somewhere and, every time you try to go here, it's not working. Don't go there. You're not meant to go there. Everything should be easy. We talk about heaven on earth or hell on earth. Things should just happen and should flow. When you come across something and there's resistance, time and time again, yes, we're taught to grind, break through. You'll get there eventually. There's more to it. Sometimes it's just time for you to pivot or it's not for you, right? This current society would tell you, keep trying, right? Break barriers. Again, don't get me wrong, guys. You have to work hard. You have to be resilient, right? To have money, to have this, to have that. But there are times where you know what I'm talking about. There are times where you should be able to be like, all right, I'm doing the right things here. I'm trying. I'm very resilient. But something is happening every time I do that.